has impressed you the most about the way Jalen Jones has approached training camp and just how he's gotten better throughout the preseason?
Well, I think when he came in, what we liked about him was he was a good man player. You know, played press at the line of scrimmage, did a lot of things like that. And then some of the different zone concepts, that was where the learning curve was for him. And I think that in training camp, that's where he's probably made the biggest jump, where he's gained the trust of the guys around him, some of the different things we're doing there.
What are you showing you on special teams specifically?
What's that?
What is he showing you on special teams?
You know, as a gunner, I know they like him there, and, you know, both on punt return and punt. So he does a great job with the hold-ups, and you know, I think they just like his aggressiveness.
You got some young corners, as we know. What has been your overarching takeaway from the preseason for those guys?
Well, probably what you're saying too. They're long, right? They're long. They can run pretty well. You know, there's going to be in our style of defense, they're going to have to hold up on the. I think we talked about that last year with Gilly. You know, on the X receiver, they're going to take shots there, and you got to be able to hold up out there and make plays. So you saw a little bit in the preseason. Dallas made a couple plays there. So I think their length and their size and speed. So they just need to play, you know, and get more and more reps on the field. We'll probably go through some growing pains with them, but I think we're really excited about, you know, kind of their ability and what they bring to the table.
Those are shots because the single trying to take advantage of the single deep safety. You think is that what that is?
Well, I think, you know, anytime, you know, 3-by-1, they kind of look and see. They like the matchups. You can play split safety, you know, and you're cheating to the trips, and, you know, teams can read it. So it's just, I think it's a matter of ball that you're going to be one-on-one sometimes out there on the perimeter.
What have you seen about Dallas? I mean, last year at this time, he's just trying to make the roster, and he's a special teams guy primarily, but then you finally go to him at corner. What have you seen as growth at the position?
You know, it's right, because I think right away it was people were like, let's take a look at him now. And it's one of those things where the trust with the teammates, the trust with Milo as a coach, you know, he had to build that aspect of it. So I think his athleticism, his length, his size was always there, but it was that part that, can we trust you play in and play out? And, you know, Milo has done a great job, Mike Mitchell, and then I think like a guy like Gilly kind of took ownership of him too. So I think as it got into the season, he started to play with more confidence. He played with trust from his teammates, and it took time for that to come across.
So do you trust him?
What's that?
Do you trust him?
Now? Yeah. We definitely trust him. Yeah, he's played consistently throughout OTAs and now, so yeah, he's done a good job. And then it was good to see him. You still, I think, trust you want to keep stacking up those opportunities when the ball goes your way that you make plays. So I think each time that happens, you trust him even more.
Talk about for the pass rush with the young corners. How important is it to tie in the pass rush to help out the young corners?
Well, it sure helps them. You know, I think we're playing things tighter than we have. I think we're challenging things more. But whenever you have a rush, you know, that the quarterback has to get it off, there's kind of that clock that ticks for him, and he's got to, you know, get rid of it. That's what's important, I think. So, like the cliche says, they work together. But we're seeing some guys in one-on-ones, and, you know, I think that as the season goes on, we'll see that rush develop more and more.
Talk about getting reps for guys and growing pains for the young corners. I feel like Daryl Baker got some experience against Devontae Smith in the joint practices. What kind of an opportunity is that like for a guy that young?
Good. I think sometimes when you see that, it's how they respond. You know, they went up and had a couple battles. And to see him come back and want it again and again, that's the mentality that you have to have. And I think so, you know, when you look at plays being made, whether it's a big play for them or we make a big play, how a guy responds in those situations is important. And, you know, we try to evaluate everything, how they walk on the field to how they are with their teammates, how they handle those types of situations. So, you know, we talk in terms of everything counts. And so to go on those joint practices against a great receiver like that was good. We saw a lot that took place.
I know that Dallas Flowers has only got limited reps throughout the preseason, but how would you compare the player he is now to the player you saw Week 18 when he got the start against Houston?
I think he's playing with more consistency. He's always been pretty confident now. I mean, when we put him in there, there was no, you know, hesitation on his part. He always felt like, shoot, it's just, you know, why did it take so long? I should have been out here. He's kind of got that mentality. So I think just as his consistent play, and he's playing with an edge out there, you know, I think he loves the challenge. And, you know, sometimes guys will, hey, put me to the field, where our guys now are like, no, it doesn't matter. put me in the boundary, let me go one-on-one, give me my shot there. So it's, I think he's really the one that epitomizes that.
I feel like Nick Cross has developed this camp.
Done very well. I'll tell you what Nick has done. He has proven to us that he has consistently played well at the strong safety spot. But what his value to us is he can play free, he can play strong, in a pinch he can play nickel. So as far as a role, he's one play away from all those three positions, where he has an opportunity to play, or at least be in those discussions to play. And I think last year he wasn't in that discussion. It was like, boy, he's, if we had an injury maybe at a spot, it was like, well, I don't know if he's quite ready. I think he's really kind of erased that part of doubt for us.
So do you foresee, starting Julian and Strong, and is Nick more of like a utility guy at those three positions?
Well, I mean, as far as talking about the rosters and stuff like that, we'll see how it all plays out. But you've seen it. Julian's played very well for us.
What would you define a successful year for this young cornerback?
Oh, boy. So that's a great question. Now, make every play, get a lot of picks. But I think, we challenge them just that, everything is a growing, keep their competitive spirit, challenge out there in the perimeter. We know that teams are going to take some shots. We got to win a lot of the fair share of those, compete against them, and let's see what takes place. But, I think the evaluation is constant, each week to see, and we just got to make sure that each week we see great improvement from them all.
For lack of a better way of putting it, the difference between boundary and field, you're just going to get more help if you're the field corner.
Yeah, well, it depends. Nowadays, teams are putting formation into the boundary, and, so the field corner, generally speaking, the field corner is a longer throw, especially in college. You have a boundary corner and a field corner. In the short side of the field in college, they're going to get more shots. Where the field corner, that's a long throw to throw a comeback to the field in college. It's a little bit like that in the NFL, but now teams are getting to where they're putting formation in the boundary, and they're trying to expose you different ways. So, but generally speaking, yeah, the boundary corner is going to be more isolated.
How have you seen Daryl, similar to Dallas, evolve from last year to this year? And is it different when they're like an older person, both are like 25 years old?
He's got tremendous poise. That's what I'd say about DJ. Very good poise, rarely rattled, competes every play. You know what you're going to get. They might complete a pass on him. He's going to come back the next play and compete his tail off. There's just that consistency part that he plays with really, really good poise. And he's a fierce competitor out there. So he's done a really good job. I can remember we brought him in OTAs. And he was sitting in with Milo and just talking about his growth that we saw through OTAs. And then he took the training camp, and he's been consistent throughout, and he's taken his game another notch. So, I think just playing together and getting a feel. We saw a little bit with the defensive line, right? Like here's Sampson rushing next to Buck and Sampson rushing next to Tavon. It's different. It's a different feel. So those guys, they need to play and get a feel for how each other one operates at each position so they can, and that's just playing more and more.
Gus, this time last year, there were a lot of questions looming about Shaq and where he was in his comeback. No, he's progressing to the protocol right now, but in particular, in the last month and what he's been able to do, returning to practice, the amount of time he's been able to play, what have you learned about him as a player, both on and off the field?
You know what? I don't know. I guess I am a little emotional. Get excited, the ups and downs, but it's hard not to when you talk about him. And if you just sit back and pause and look where he was at, and then you look at all the work he put in, and then he goes through maybe a setback, and then he comes back, and then it's a little bit of a setback, and then he comes back. And just his perseverance, his grit, his determination, it is emotional. I mean, what he's gone through and how much that he has put into it to try to do everything he can to get back, because he is so important to this team. On the field, the emotion he brings, the playmaking ability he brings, and to see him compete really to try to get to where he's at his best, it's amazing, if you sit back. But sometimes we just, hey, let's go injury report, let's talk about him. You can get caught up in the day-to-day and fail to look back at just how much he's accomplished to get to where he is right now.
But you've not really had him.
No, not really. I mean, we've had glimpses, right? So I think that's where we're more excited than anything to get him back in the, come on, let's go. You know, we got to get this through this protocol, return to play. We appreciate that, understand it, but he's the same way. But, you know, yeah, we're excited to get him back. It'd mean a lot to this team.
I think you said you get emotional from where he was. You mean like maybe when he came back last year?
I'm talking about in the off season.
Okay.
You know, there he is. I mean, here he's sending videos of him going through leg workouts and change of direction drills and look at, you know, checking, you know, the coach Smith, look at the improvement. What do you see? Here's how I see it. You know, just, I mean, on all the little things, just going through cone drill, you know, to see, you know, now it's, you know, more watching film, and he's always been a guy like that, but just to see him compete at everything, every level. It truly is everything counts for him.